Everyone, welcome back to my channel, where today we are going to go into part 2 of Arthur Clarke's masterpiece 2001: A Space Odyssey. If you haven't checked out part 1, go back if you want. It's under the book club playlist. I have my recap there of what happens in part 1, which is chapters 1 through 6, about the prehistoric man-apes and their impact, how they're impacted on this extraterrestrial monolith that they see, and how they grow as a species. So here in part 2, we are going to talk about chapters 7 through 4, which is this massive futuristic leap from the prehistoric age into this futuristic age, which sets place in 2001. The title of part 2 is titled TMA1, and yeah, let's blast off. Let's get going. So first off, let's recap what's going to happen, or what did happen in part 2. If you're reading along, or if you're ahead, that's great. But like I said, in part 2, it spans from chapter 7 to 14, and this focuses on humanity's leap into space. And in part 2, we are met with a character named Dr. Floyd, and he's this top scientist who's going on this secret mission to the moon. And the story kind of builds tension around his character and his mission. It's kind of a hush-hush mission where everyday people are not supposed to know why he's going. Even his colleagues don't even know why he's going. And there's a rumor of why he's going there, but the actual reason isn't revealed until the end of the chapter. But in these 7 chapters, Arthur C Clarke is kind of just highlighting the normalcy of space travel and the technologies of that time, and kind of just showcasing how space travel in this scenario is just like our international flights, right? So I guess let's go into each chapter. I'm going to give a quick summary on each and maybe my 2 cents on each chapter. And yeah, we'll start with chapter 7, which is titled Space Flight. And as I said, we're introduced to this character whose name is Dr. Floyd. And Dr. Floyd, he boards this spacecraft, which is called the Orion 3, I think, and it's going to take him from the Earth to the moon. And as I was stating earlier, his mission to the moon is very hush-hush. It's very secretive. There's rumors going about that the reason why he's going there is maybe for this lunar epidemic that's going on, and that's kind of the cover story. But really, it's not known until chapter 13 or 14 as to actually why he's there. But yeah, in this chapter, Arthur C Clarke just kind of focuses on the technology of the time and how just routine space travel is. So from chapter 7, we go into chapter 8, and this one's titled Orbital Rendezvous. And so this is the rendezvous between the Orion spaceship that he's on, and the docking onto the Space Station 1. And here, Dr. Floyd meets some old colleagues, and he catches up with just some folks in his field. And while he's there, it's like a layover, right? So if you were to travel from, let's say, New York to Malaysia or something, you might have a layover in Frankfurt, and while you're there, you call people back in the States or something. And so that's essentially what happens here. This space station is like a layover trip for him as he's on his way to the moon. And he has a telephone conversation, or a conversation with his family that's back on Earth. And again, Arthur C Clarke's kind of just normalizing or trying to give you the sense of how normal space travel is. It's more of just a routine everyday thing. Well, not everyday thing, but a very routine thing. It's not like how it is today. So for chapter 8, we move right into chapter 9, and this one's called The Moon Shuttle. So obviously this is Dr. Floyd leaving this space station and going to the Clavius base, which is on the moon. And so in this chapter, Dr. Floyd's kind of just marveling at the human technologies that are in place, and the colonies that are on Mars and on the moon, And Arthur C Clarke's just giving you the overwhelming sense of progress from part 1 to part 2, how we went from this prehistoric age where we really didn't have any technology at all to what Dr. Floyd's experiencing with this pretty much intergalactic travel. So Chapter 9 steadily moves into Chapter 10, which is titled The Clavius Base, and Dr. Floyd now has arrived at the base, and we, as the reader, officially know that the epidemic that was rumored to be going on the moon was completely fake. It was all kept to be a big secret as to what was actually going on there. And as we read this chapter, we kind of just get the daily life of what it is to live on the moon, where there's this artificial gravity and these farms that are on the moon, and just the everyday technologies that are there. Arthur C. Clarke, again, is kind of just highlighting the normalcy of space and humanity living in space, rather than the part 1 where we are essentially living in fear in caves, right? So from Chapter 10, we'll move into Chapter 11, which is titled The Anomaly. And this is where we kind of learn. This is where we learn about why Arthur C. Clarke, why Dr. Floyd is there. So while he's there, they're surveying the moon, and as they're surveying, they come across this massive magnetic anomaly within this crater, and it's called the crater's called I think the crater's called TMA1, or no, the magnetic anomaly is titled TMA1. Sorry, and so this, as they're surveying and they're digging into the moon, they come across this black rectangular monolith. Cue part 1, where in the prehistoric age there's this monolith, right? And so a very similar structure is found here in part 2. This one's on the moon, and it's said to have been there for 3 million years or so, just like in part 1, where like millions of years kind of passed from that prehistoric age into the 2001 space age, right? So the scientists there and Dr. Floyd there are all assuming that this is alien technology, and it's clearly not from man, and it's nothing natural. It's definitely artificial. And so that's how chapter 11 ends, and we move into chapter 12, which is called The Journey by Earthlight. And this here follows Dr. Floyd and him going to the site, and everyone kind of speculating what this marker is and what this monolith is and why it's there. And many are saying, oh, it's a marker or it's a signal. And Arthur C. Clarke, as he's describing the structure and the characters on the moon, he's trying to convey very eeriness, a sense of eeriness and isolation for these characters. Move into chapter 13, and this is called The Slow Dawn, where they're still examining the monolith up close, and they see just like how perfect that the structure is. Its proportions seem to be better than anything mankind can produce, and it's just like perfect black slab. It's super smooth, and so everyone's kind of speculating still as to what this monolith may be, what it does, if it does anything. And so they decide that since now that this has been uncovered, they're going to wait for the sun to rise on the moon and strike the monolith to see if anything happens. And so this is where we get into the climax, the final chapter of part 2, which is chapter 14, is titled The Listener. And here the sun finally strikes the monolith on the moon for the first time in 3 million years, or however long it's essentially supposed to be there for. And as the sun strikes the monolith, it blasts this radio signal toward Jupiter. And we're under the assumption like this is some type of an alarm for aliens, kind of signaling that mankind has moved on from their prehistoric man-ape beings to these intergalactic space travelers, and that they've evolved beyond just their ordinary means and are now voyagers and explorers into deep space. And so, yeah, I want to kind of tie this back to part one a bit, especially with the monolith. So the monolith seems to be this reoccurring character, if you will. I had called it a divine intervention in part one that kind of gave these primates tools and knowledge and technology beyond what they could. It's more than likely that's going to be the same situation here, possibly. Well, I'm not quite sure. I call it divine intervention, but Arthur C Clarke, as far as my understanding, he's like this futurist atheist person, and so his perspective on the monolith is purely scientific, and on the basis of evolution. I said that in the first video. I'm not a big fan of that concept, but neither here nor there. This is a work of fiction, and I'm reading it just for pure pleasure more than anything. And so, yeah, I'm curious to see how this kind of plays out. I think I'm just about to. I think I finished part 3. Still don't know too much about the monoliths and why they're there, what they're doing per se. So, yeah, that's the breakdown of part 2. I hope you all enjoyed. I don't really have any philosophical nuances or ideas to bring to you. More so, I'm just enjoying the story and reading it. I hope you're enjoying the breakdowns. If you want to get more philosophical about it, leave something in the comments, and I'll gladly answer and give my 2 cents. Thank you all for joining the book club. I hope you're enjoying this little series. I plan to do more. I think the next book that I'm going to do after 2001 Space Odyssey will be Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Let me know if you like this stuff. If not, maybe after the 4th or 5th book, I might stop this. But we'll see. We'll see. If y'all like it, I'll continue it for sure. But I hope you all have a great week. God bless you. Have a nice day.